Hello and welcome to American Literature 1 that you're starting so close to the 4th of July, which is really exciting. My name is Professor Heaton. I will be taking you on this wonderful journey of American literature. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to try to make it as succinct as possible to explain the layout of the class, how assignments will work, how attendance will work, basically my expectations for you and what you can expect from me. So you probably got an email from me that's just a general welcome to the class and some key things to know before we begin. Generally, the way the entire class will work is that I will send out everything that you need, all the resources and the assignment. I will send that all out on Mondays, with the exception of the first week of class, because obviously we're beginning on a Tuesday. I will send that out on the beginning of the week, and then you have the entire week to consume all of those resources, do the readings, synthesize it, think about it, and then to craft your assignment. There will be one assignment each week, and that will be due at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. Okay? So just keep that in mind. That's the due date for everything. You shouldn't ever have to think, well, when's that due? It's always due at Sunday at 11:59 p.m. with the one exception of the final project, but we'll get to that in just a second. Okay? Your final project is going to be a research-based project over an author of your choice. So as you're engaging in all these primary texts throughout the course, be thinking what author or what particular writing really interests you. And that might help you kind of veer off into a project that you're really engaged with. So once class begins, I'll be available on Google Hangouts for office hours Monday through Friday from noon to 2 p.m. So here's a document right here. Go ahead and click on that document when you get the opportunity to learn how to use Google Hangouts. You have to add me as one of your friends or contacts and use this email address. Okay? scott.heaton@my.tccd.edu. And then key things to do before class begins, hopefully, this is ungraded, so don't feel too stressed about this, is to try and complete your introductions discussion board in the lessons folder. And I'll show you that here in just a little bit. But the first thing I'm going to do is just I'm going to walk through the syllabus. I'm not going to read everything to you word for word because you have time to do that on your own. I'm going to highlight some of the key things that I think you need to know. So like I said, my name is Scott Heaton. You're not going to be coming to my office because I don't even think I can get to my office right now. Here's my email address if you need to contact me, office hours, obviously. So we're going to be surveying American literature from the period of exploration and settlement through the Civil War. So you're going to read prose, poetry, drama, fiction in relation to their historical and cultural contexts. Texts will be selected from among a diverse group of authors for what they reflect and reveal about the evolving American experience and character. And these are all of our learning objectives and outcomes. There's no textbook required for the class. I've done screenshots of the textbook, so you'll be able to access everything as long as you have a computer and internet access, so that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Okay, so here's the thing that everybody wants to know: grades. So this is obviously a very condensed course. There are not many grades at all, and that's a good thing because it means that you can give all your effort to the very few grades that we have. But it can also be a little bit of a tricky thing because if you kind of go to sleep on one or forget about one, it can really, really, really damage your grade for the class. So just make sure that you stay on top of it. Know that there is a daily grade every single week of class except for the last week, which isn't a full week, because that's when your final project will be due. Okay, so there will be 4 daily grades, all of them we do on Sunday at 11:59 p.m., worth 15 points apiece, so that's 60 points. These are going to be discussion boards that will focus on identification and implementation of knowledge learned in class in response to the assigned readings and resources. Okay, so we'll have one of those every week to where you're synthesizing all the information, you're telling me what you think, your own ideas, and then you'll be responding to a couple of classmates. And then lastly is your final project, which is 40 points. So this assignment is going to require you to choose a text. Actually, not a text, that should say an author. I'll fix that. An author from the syllabus. You're going to research that author thoroughly and then tell me how that author relates to American history and its impact on the present. Okay? And there will be lots of different ways to present that information. Okay, absence policies. It's a little bit tricky for these online courses. So you're allotted 15% of class to miss, but that's not really going to come into play too much for this class because the way it will work is that if you have an on-time submission of your week's assignment, you will be counted present for that week of class. If you are late with that assignment or do not turn it in at all, you will be counted absent. So you can see very quickly how one absence could be a bit troublesome. Okay, but I'm not going to drop you from the course unless you're just completely ghosting me. I don't hear anything from you, anything like that. So just make sure that you're staying in contact with me, that you're getting all of your assignments done, and there should be no problem at all. So if for some reason you need accommodations for class, nothing is really going to be time sensitive or multiple choice or testing or anything like that, please let me know. Book an appointment through the student accessibility resources that I think they're doing virtually right now. And if you need any type of accommodations, I'm more than happy to accommodate you. Okay, you can read through the other important information. I can change the syllabus if I need to. And right here in the syllabus, this is just going to show you how I've broken up the different readings that we're going to have. So we have kind of 4 units of readings. Unit 1 is Native American oral literature through origins. Week 2 is the Puritan community and the Revolution. Week 3 is the Enlightenment and the course of empire. And week 4 is Romanticism to the Civil War. Okay, and then I've got the primary texts. So these are the texts that we'll be looking at, and I'll show you how to access them here in a second. And I'll just remind you in the assignment that your discussion board post will be due at 11:59, and then I give you the particular date. Okay, and that's pretty much it for our syllabus. But let me show you how generally class will work through every single week. So I'm going to click on lessons right here, and you'll notice there's that introductions discussion board. So if you'll click on that, I would love for you all to click create thread, and then you'll see my example here. Okay, so I've given you directions on how to do it, and then I've also given you an example post and how you'll respond. So if you'll read through that and make your post, that would be great. I would love it if you could put an image of you so I could associate a face with your writings. This is me, obviously. It's my wife, my 2 kids, so you can read all about them. But just make sure you do that before class starts, just so we can get to know each other a little bit better. Okay, I'm going back in through lessons. And I'm going to leave all of these open throughout all of class. So I know some of you are working jobs, and if you want to work ahead a little bit, that's totally fine. That doesn't bother me at all. Just make sure that you're keeping up with everything. And oftentimes when students work ahead, they forget particular due dates. So just make sure that you're staying on track. Okay, I'm going to click week 1, Native American oral literature through origins. So, and I give you a brief introduction here. And I'll just go through this real quick. So when discussing Native American literature, it's important to note a few things. Maybe most importantly is its diversity. Several bodies of work are lumped into Native American literature that span vastly different regions over an extended period of time. It's also important to remember that these stories and traditions are primarily oral or handed down through the telling of the narratives. So instead of written in any kind of alphabetical script we would recognize, these stories have been translated by European conquerors and became the very limited body of Native American oral literature we know today. So due to this collaboration that would have certainly tinged the original telling of the tales, many scholars are actively studying pre-Columbian history to get a better understanding of Native American art and literature. So what you'll be doing here, you'll be reading creation stories, learning more about Native American communities, and these creation stories function a lot like kind of the book of Genesis does for many Judeo-Christians. It gives you a general outlook on what life is and how to understand it from the perspective of many Native Americans, not all. We don't want to be too general here. So a common theme in many Native American creation stories is the trickster, which is this wandering body, gluttonous, obscene figure who poses a threat to humanity. Somewhat ironically, though, this figure can also function as a hero who helps establish the general order of the world. Okay. So the selections that you'll be reading for this unit are going to illustrate the variety of ways that Native American oral literature has been experienced historically and suggest some of the pleasures and complexities involved in its reception today. Whether constructed from memory, recorded with the aid of a translator, or produced by Native authors, they provide insight into the verbal arts of pre-Columbian America as they have survived to the present. And throughout the course, because I love it and there are such great resources, we'll be watching a lot of crash course history videos to give you some context that you're more than welcome to reference in your assignments. Okay? So, and these are the key texts. the Iroquois creation story, the Navajo creation story, the Letter of Discovery by Christopher Columbus, and Alvar Nunez Cabeza de Vaca, right? So you'll be reading all those things, and we're condensing a lot of class in a very short amount of time, so the reading will take you some time. So just make sure that you set aside a lot of time to do that. I try to knock all those out on Monday or Tuesday, as soon as you can, right? And then some more context, Native American oral narrative. And once you've consumed all those resources, here's what you're going to do. So for discussion 1, Native American oral literature or origins, you're going to read, watch all the text, and then synthesize a 300-word minimum composition that identifies key ideas from the era. I should change that, Romantic era. I've got you mixed up with another class. Analyzes values and philosophies, articulates your own opinion of the text, and responds to the ideas of classmates. Okay? So, what you've got to do, you've got to explore all those texts and resources, explain how the key ideas from the text reinforce or challenge your understanding of Native American history and colonization. Do these texts and resources present a picture of America that you are familiar with? How so? And it might challenge it a little bit. So once you've identified the key ideas of this literary era, I want you to analyze the values you think they're presenting, the different philosophies or even religious ideas that are presented in the text, and what type of worldview do you think these texts are arguing for or against. Now keep in mind, Native American oral literature is very broad, so there might be some differing opinions there. Now to conclude your composition, you must respond to the ideas of this particular literary era. What is your opinion of the ideas and values of this literary age, and why do you think that? So once you've completed your submission, you must respond to at least 2 classmates by clicking on their submission and clicking comment. Read their composition and explain why you agree or disagree with their opinion of the literature. Make sure to quote from their composition to specifically address their ideas. And each one of those comments should be 100 words each. I would highly recommend that you copy and paste their words into your response so they know specifically what it is that you are discussing. So here are some key tips that I offer. Use Shmoop or SparkNotes if you're struggling with any of these literary ideas. Make sure to read and proofread your submission before you submit it. I would highly recommend that you do all this on a Microsoft Word document. That will help a lot. Instead of doing it in Blackboard, so do it in Microsoft Word, copy and paste it over. Make sure that you're demonstrating that you understand the literary era, right? Don't worry so much about formatting, and then include specific scenes and specific lines. Quote, 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 quote. Okay? So you can read over all those things. Okay, and the last thing I want to discuss very quickly is your final project. There it is, Hulkamania. So these are the authors that we'll be looking at throughout the course. So Native American oral literature, obviously we're not very sure who the authors are here, so you can use that as the whole, and these different authors here. Just read over this week and let me know if you have any questions. So there are different options. You have to choose one. There's an essay option, an artistic expression option where you create a visual work of art. You can create a graphic novel, which has been really popular. But also this final project option has been what most of my students have been choosing lately, is that you actually create an Instagram page for your author, which sounds really fun, and it is. But there's also a written portion for that too. So don't think that you can get away with 40% of your grade just by submitting 10 pictures. It's a little more complex, okay? So I just want to let you all see that, kind of read through it. We'll obviously be talking about this a little more as we get closer to the final project. I've got all sorts of resources and links up here to help you with these things. There's my rubric for how I'm grading. And that's a very general overview of the class. So I'm going to send this all out to you before class starts, and I'll also send it out to you on July 2nd, the first day of class. So please let me know if you have any questions. Contact me on Google Hangouts between noon and 2 if you have any more questions. And I'm excited to get to know all of you and to take you through this magical journey of American literature.